Hello, thank you for joining us live today. We are here for the Meet the Team series with HeavyFinance. Today, our first interview is with Andrius Liukaitis. Andrius, pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much for being here with us. It has been a very fun ride for you this last few months, I know that. And we are not only colleagues, we are also friends.
Not a few months, for a year.
For a year.
Yeah.
But these last few months are especially interesting for you, right? Because a lot of new projects coming out. HeavyFinance, and you have your own kid. I can talk about that, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm a freshly baked father. I have a boy of almost 4 months. His name is Antanas, and I mean, that's a wholly new project if you compare it to any company or any fintech you are doing. It's a new level.
I bet so. And I see how hard you work for HeavyFinance, and I bet that your kid also takes a lot of your time. So
yes, it does, but I like it.
No free time right now.
Like with any fintech or with HeavyFinance and with my son, I like what I do.
Very good. So look, we want to know, I'm really curious about your background.
Mm-hmm.
Where have you studied? What is your experience before coming to this side
of
the fintech?
How did I end up here, right?
And yeah, that's going to be next. How you ended up here?
Okay, so I think we're going to talk about only about the relevant one. So I graduated from ISM, the University of Management and Economics, in 2011. So it is exactly 10 years now as I have been in you can say it like the labor market, right? So I have been in and out of jobs for 10 years. So that's kind of a long time if you actually think about it. My first internship was in Danske Bank. So I did an internship in the wealth management department. It was a free internship, but I can brag about it now because I did a model where you, as a customer of Danske Bank, you would go into a bank. If you owned a mutual fund, they could sell you and show you another fund with the exact amount you need to put into it for you to minimize the risk and maximize the profits. So though the internship was actually free, I got paid 400 litas.
That's for 20 euros a day?
108 maybe.
Okay, so that's not so bad. How old were you at the time?
I think 21.
So that's a good payday for 20 or
kind of, yeah. Now I'm actually 32. Yeah, and
you still look 21.
Thank you. Yeah, after that I went to work for the bank called Finasta. I was an equity broker there. So we did shares and bonds. I was the broker for the US market. I worked there for a year because the shareholder was the bank which went bankrupt, the Snoras Bank. So I think you all know the story about it. And after that, I left to SEB Bank, SEB. So I worked for 2 positions there. The one was in operations with the Swedish guys, and another year with the fund administration, like the pension funds, right? And I not really liked the job because you actually felt very little there, because you had the instructions on how to do things and you just kind of went for it.
It was a proper corporate role, right?
Exactly, yeah. So then I saw this ad. It actually didn't mention the company, but the description of the ad was really interesting. So my wife encouraged me to go for it. I went into the interview. This was a company called BNP Finance. I worked there for more than 2 years. There were the same shareholders had like many companies, and they were the same who incorporated NeoFinance, for which I worked the longest. I guess it has been 5 years for me with the NeoFinance.
So let me just ask you something now. Let's stop here. NeoFinance is already a non-typical or non-traditional fintech company, right? We're talking about decentralized peer-to-peer finance.
Exactly.
And that jump that you did from your previous corporate jobs into NeoFinance, that must have been like almost a paradigm shift, right, for you?
An eye-opener.
But
Yeah.
was it something that you were expecting before you joined? I mean, was it that description of the job, or when you jumped to Neo Finance, was that description of the job something that impulsed you to move forward, or it was just luck and you just come to love it?
No, it was not luck. I really liked the description of the job, and I liked the people in the interviews. But the actual job uh, was even better than the description, actually. Because I mean, then I found out that I really like the uncertainty, and I like being in a very little team where you can do everything and anything. I mean, you feel empowered and you feel trusted, and you can touch every aspect of the company, not only like you get an instruction and you do this and only this, you know. You can go from finance to marketing to sales and
Life of a startup, right? A lot of hats and always changing and trying to see what fits better,
exactly.
what fits the moment, actually, right?
Yes. So that's what I really liked about that, and I still do.
And then from New Finance, you're already in the crowdfunding world, in the peer-to-peer lending. And how did the jump from New Finance to Heavy Finance happen? Actually, before that, how long were you in New Finance?
5 years.
For 5 years. That's a lot of experience, right? A lot of hats that's constantly shifting and solving problems. But how did this jump happen?
It was like 2 jumps, actually. So a career in the Neo Finance ended when I got headhunted by the Southeast Asian unicorn in fintech. It's called WeCash. So they offered me a position. It was a really long name, but basically just to be the main person here to do the one European fintech in Vilnius, Lithuania, to do like the payments, to do the lending, all the stuff, and in the future grow into a bank, basically. So that was the story. We really worked hard for that for half a year, but somehow they changed their minds and they moved to Spain. And this was over, and I thought that this is a really fine time to go on to a vacation, because it was the end of June last year. And I thought, cool, I will have like a long summer, a lot of holidays, and this actually didn't last long, because actually Limonas approached me in the end of August, or in the mid-August, I would say. And just to tell you all, guys, so we were in the competing business. He was the founder of Finbi. I was the CFO of Neo Finance, but once, I think it happened in 2016, I still have the message in Facebook when he actually wrote me that sometime in the future I see us actually working together, you know. And I thought, no way. And now look at us.
That was a good forecast.
Yeah, so he approached me, and I really liked the idea. I really liked the company, and the idea that you again, because if we're talking about Neo Finance, so it was a well-established company with like 35 employees, and it was on the way. Like all the base was already made, you know. So you just need to push it further. And with Heavy Finance, it's still everything new, and you have to build the whole base. So that's what was really interesting for me.
So before we continue, let me just ask you guys if you have any question to ask. Of course, Andrius, feel free to write it down. I will read, because I see that we have a first question from Darius. Andrius, what is your P2P investment strategy? How it changed over time? So let's answer this question, and then we'll go back to our regular interview.
That's an interesting one. I will tell you how it changed over time, because at first I would invest into almost every loans, and I would look at each and every person. If we are talking about the consumer loans, it changed over time in a way that I felt that this should be a risk-taking portfolio. So I ended up with buying the defaulted loans, which are with the bailiffs, because at the end of the day, a lot of loans are getting paid back. But what you have with the bailiffs in Lithuania, that after the court, they add like 5% larger interest to the loan, so you get paid more. And on the other hand, you buy the defaulted loans on the secondary market with a discount. So that's what actually worked. With heavy finance, it's a little bit different because you have a collateral, right? So this is just my opinion, but I feel a lot safer investing into heavy finance loans. But on the same time, the interest rate is a little bit lower, though to my mind it is too high yet. I mean, to get paid like 11.5% with a loan with a collateral, I think that's insane at the moment, and I think that it will be the same story as with all the consumer loans, right? Because at the beginning you got really nice high interest rates, and with time they deteriorated. So I think that will be the story with.
So what I'm hearing is that you work in heavy finance, you invest in heavy finance, so everything is home, right?
I mean, every time I put my money where my mouth is.
Literally, right?
Yep.
So I actually wanted to ask you something regarding that. We're talking a little bit about how you joined heavy finance, but I believe that you really do believe in the company, as you were saying. You are investing in heavy finance products.
I believe in a company and in a product, and if I could elaborate on that, I think what I thought last year in August, right? So what you see worldwide, you see that the population in the world is expanding, right? But I think you and me, we are kind of educated persons, and we know that Earth is not expanding
Of course.
at the same pace as the population, right?
There is a cap.
Yeah. So I mean, the logic says that to feed more people, you need to be more efficient with the same amount of land. So to be more efficient, you need more, more machinery, more other stuff, which would make you harvest more from the same amount of land. So that's the idea why I see this product needed in the whole world, and I think it is better than to give some guy money to buy a TV, you know.
So this is actually a good conceptual question, because I'm going to ask you a question. I know the answer to that question, but anyway, I think that our investors in our community should also know the answer to that question. But what we hear all the time, especially here in the European Union, where we are based, what we hear all the time is that farmers and agriculture, they are very well funded by the government. So why do they need extra cash?
Yeah, that is a lie. to put it mildly. I mean, yes, they are funded by the governments, they are funded by banks, but the majority of the subsidies goes to the large farms. The majority of the banking lending also goes to the large guys. I mean, if you are a little farmer or even a medium one in Lithuania, and if you need a loan like of up to 40,000 euros, most likely you won't get such a loan, because the one unit economics of the bank just basically doesn't work for that size of the loan, because you have to pay the interest rate for the deposits, you have to put some cash into the guarantee fund, and at the end you have to be in line with the capital adequacy ratio, which for the benefit of the crowdfunding platforms is not the case. So we can serve much lower loans and still we can be profitable, and we can manage to do business while the banks can't. And actually, from the perspective of a farmer, it is really disencouraging when you go to the bank and your finances are kind of good. Well, they are average, but you declined, so that's the case, what we are seeing not only in Lithuania, but in all the countries we are operating. So it's Lithuania, Latvia, Bulgaria, and Portugal.
So what you're telling me is that banks most of the times they don't have the business model to serve this, to cater to this small farmers.
Exactly.
And at the same time, probably they even don't believe in the financial viability in the future in the small farmers, right?
Yep. Yeah, because you also see a trend in the EU that the farms are consolidating. So the bigger farms are becoming even bigger. So, but it's not the majority of the farmers. I mean, if you take the numbers, so it's not the majority. The majority is still in the little to medium-sized farms.
And HeavyFinance is catering to this actually smaller farmers, right?
Yes.
The ones who actually go and get their hands dirty in the grounds and have to take care of their families and their kids,
Yeah,
Well,
that's
sorry.
for sure. No, that's good.
So we talked a little bit about just superficially, but it doesn't really matter. We talked a little bit about business model. We talked a little bit about market fit. Can you sum up for me how do you see the value proposition of HeavyFinance for an investor? If I would have now some money, I would like to invest in a crowdfunding platform. Why would I choose HeavyFinance?
There are two aspects to my mind. I mean, I actually won't tell the obvious ones, like the return, but if we are talking about the collateral, so we are the only ones who are pledging the heavy machinery. Intuitively, it can be thought of that it is an illiquid assets, and we will find it hard to sell them or in other ways liquidize them, right? But that actually isn't true. Our shareholder Rytis, which I think you are interviewing too, right?
Tomorrow.
Yeah, so he will actually testify because he himself sells quite a lot of heavy machinery to different countries, and the view is that if you like make a 10 or a 20% discount on the asset, it will be sold to some other country like in a few days. And on the same note, I'm not sure if our investors know, but for example, a harvester works only 200 hours per year. That means that the harvest of the grain happens usually in August, and the combine harvester works for a month. So the deterioration of the asset is really low, and what banks don't do, I mean, or what they do, they ask the combine harvester to be at most 10 years old at the end of the loan if you actually pledge the combine harvester. But the issue is that a 20-year-old harvester works perfectly well. That's the case.
But you're talking only about heavy machinery here as a collateral.
Yeah.
This is not the only collateral that HeavyFinance accepts, right?
Yeah, we also accept land and land with buildings. So I think that is the collateral that the majority of investors understands and appreciates.
But let me just compare to other kind of platforms. Another platform that accepts land as a collateral for speculation purposes to build something, right? This land is land that was bought on purpose for that. But the land that farmers have is not land that they bought only for farming. Is land that they expect to pass down to their kids. So this is the last asset that they have as a class in a whole, right?
Yeah, I mean overall, whom we are lending to is we are lending not against the collateral but to an existing business, existing farm. And what we have talked inside, I mean, if you take out the rod from the fisherman, so he can't catch fish, So if you take away the land from the farmer, he's not a farmer anymore, right? So I mean, he will do everything to save his land. So that's why I mean we see that this kind of lending is not only increasing the productivity of the farms, but also it's a safe one, not only based on the collateral, but also on the mind of the farmers, because it's like his most precious asset.
Very good. We have two more questions, very interesting ones. Kestutis is asking, what other countries look promising for heavy finance?
All of them. I mean, we read a study made by Fee Compass. It's a really good one. So they calculated the market gap for the EU market. So I'm talking now only about the EU market, because we are getting the crowdfunding initiative, which will allow not to establish a subsidiary company in any country, but to operate from one country in the end of October.
Cross-border, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, the gap was calculated to be from 20 to 40 billion euros. I mean, this is the gap, which is not financed by the traditional institutions, by family or friends. I mean, this is what the farming market needs right now. So, of course, we would, I think, focus first on the countries with the largest gap and the lowest barriers to entry. But I can't say that one extra country or another is our main one. At the moment, we are focusing, as I mentioned, Lithuania, Latvia, Bulgaria, and Portugal.
And I believe that we have different products. So we have collateralized by machine, collateralized by land, but we even haven't collateralized small loans, right? So with all this portfolio of products, it's easier to find market fit in different markets, right?
Of course. I mean, and this year, yeah, if I would like to go a bit deeper into those uncollateralized loans of 10,000 euros, right? So what happened last year? There was a record year for the grain growers, a record year for the companies who purchases the grain from the farmers. And usually how the economic cycle from the farmer would look like, you sell the grain, you do a contract in like January to sell your like future grain, and you don't have enough money to do the harvest, to do like the summer works, right? So those companies who buy the grain from the farmers would issue them an advance payment of X euros, right, to do the work for them, that they could basically cover all their summer works, and then after harvest they are getting paid the residual value. So what happened this year was that all those companies even paid like bought back the grain with a delay, because there was a lack of money for them, and there was a lack for those advance payments. And this is where we came in with our 10,000 euros uncollateralized loans, and a lot of farmers really needed that. And you can be sure because that he will pay it back, because either he has another loan with the collateral with us, or he already has a contract to sell the grain at the end of the year, you know.
So we are always looking for new solutions that are adapted to the market and to the needs of the market. That's what you're telling me, right?
Yes.
And
to put it in short, yes.
No, that was a very long and extensive explanation, comprehensive explanation. That's very important because it also shows how much you understand about what we are doing. That's very good.
I try. I'm not a farmer, but I try to go into those shoes. You know?
But that's actually very important, because from our team we have a small amount of core members that actually are into farming and into agriculture. So most of us, the background is financial and not properly farming agriculture. But we are always focused on farming and agriculture because this is who we are catering to and who we are serving. Right, so we are learning as we go, learning on the job.
Exactly.
So we have another question from Jivile. Jivila, what would be, actually not Jivila, Andrius, what would be your advice for beginner investors? That's a very good question.
Yeah, and I think it's not a complicated one, actually. It applies to any platform you go into. So first and key, see if a platform is regulated. We had some sad stories with, I think, 9 platforms already, which went bankrupt in one or other way. There were some incapability of management. There was some actually fraud. So I would advise to invest only into the regulated platforms. The second one is like a golden egg. I mean, diversify. Don't put all of your eggs into one basket, because that's easy to understand. If you put all your money into one loan and it defaults, and at HeavyFinance we for sure will have some defaults. It is impossible that all the loans are paid back, right? But for those we have the collateral. So diversify your money into different projects. For the really beginner ones, I would offer to invest in our loans with a guarantee fund. So we have one good product with the Garfondos. It's the governmental institution, and what they do is, in case of default, after all the recovery, they would pay out 80% of the residual debt. So we are talking about the principal part here. So your risk is actually minimized not only by the collateral, but by the government guarantee itself. So of course, for these loans goes with a lower interest rate, but if you are looking for safety, that's an option to go.
But even if the loans are not guaranteed by Garfondos, but that, by the way, is a Lithuanian tool, right? There is always a way I mean, you never lose everything. There's always a process of recovering
Sure.
a part of the debt, correct?
Yes, exactly. And how it would look like. I mean, first of all, we are always trying to find the common grounds with a farmer for him to start paying. If he doesn't, I mean, if he doesn't pick up the phone or he's just gone, and I mean, there is no other way, then we go to court and try to get it through the bailiffs. And only the last part is to sell his assets or the asset pledged. Of course, it would actually depend on the farm, but if it is like almost the only tool that he has to do his business, so this would be a last resort to take it like from him, because then
It's terminated. He
I mean,
cannot,
yeah,
no more business to pay the debts.
of course, yeah. So that's how we see it.
Very good. We have David also. By the way, thank you so much, guys, for asking questions. We are here. This is an Ask Me Anything session. I forgot to tell you before, an AMA. So please feel free to keep them coming if there is more. Andrew's already proved that he's proficient in answering questions, so that's very good. David is asking, is it worth to start invest on HeavyFinance if my investment portfolio is under 5,000 euros? I'm going to go even further. If I only have 50 or 100,000 euro, 15 or 100 euros per month, is it worth it for me to start investing in HeavyFinance?
Of course, it is just the minimum investment which we accept is 100 euros. So if you can save less than 100 euros per month, then you will get a lag of 2 months, because you will gather 100 euros every 2 months, right? So that might be not the best option for you. But if you can save at least 100 per month and put it in HeavyFinance, I mean, due with the size of the portfolio, it really doesn't matter. I mean, if you start investing and you plan to basically grow it up, so actually this will take time, but you will diversify in time. If you have like 5,000 euros, so you can put those extra money at most of 50 projects, right? 100 euros each. So that's, I think, is like proper diversification, having in mind that almost all of our loans are with a collateral, sorry.
Very good advice. And while we wait a little bit to see if there are more questions, I'm going to ask you something.
More questions.
More questions. But for my part, I'm the bigger person here asking for questions.
Sounds
Bigger
good.
question
Let's
asker,
go.
that's what I meant. You're also responsible for product at this time in HeavyFinance, not only for financial, but also from the product side. Do you have any hints of what's coming for the future? How do you see your roadmap for now? Just, of course, things that you can disclose.
For sure. In short, it will be much better. I mean, yes.
Any long?
Yeah, with a longer version, right? So I have been kind of a project owner for the investors side with NeoFinance. So I kind of know, and I listen to our investors, what are they saying, like what they need. So we have a roadmap into the future, but not all the development is for the investors, right? We also have the borrower side, and we have the back end where we have the reports, various metrics to follow, right? So sometimes from the investor point of view, it seems that we are not kind of doing the work fast enough, but you guys have to keep in mind that we have two other parts to take care of also. So in terms of the investors, what I see into the future is more transparent like metrics on our platform, where you could see like how many loans we issued with the charts, and I mean this would be nice. And the second part is the investment dashboard, where you go and see the list of your investments. I mean, I'm not sure if you noticed, but the update came last week that till now you could see all your type of investments in one sheet. So it was like ongoing projects, sold projects, canceled projects. Now you can see it in the different tabs. What you will see into the future will be some filters with the late days slicing. So the usual stuff, which would how to say it, which would make you feel comfortable about actually making an informed decision about your investments. That's
Sounds very good. And what about making the platform more user friendly, specifically on the onboarding side, on the onboarding part? Because now I know that, for instance, we are using Pesera, which for Lithuanians is very good. But for investors outside of Lithuania, it can become a little bit sluggish. Let's put it like this, right? There's a little bit of friction there.
Yes, because I mean, everybody dislikes kind of going through the KYC 2 times, right? So this is a little bottleneck for us with the foreign investors, and what we see is that we'll need a different payment provider. So we are already implementing it. I can tell that it will be Lemonway, right? So this should make it easier for the guys to invest, especially for the foreign guys. But we also hear a lot of comments from the local ones who says like, when you have a different payment provider than Pesera, I will come and join HeavyFinance. So I said, okay, we're on it. So I think that we'll be able to do that till the new year.
Very good. Do you have something else to add? Not
for now. I mean, I haven't talked for so long in a bit. I mean,
me obviously with this throat that I'm having today. So I hope to see you actually back here in front of our investors, in front of our community, in let's say half a year, with more updates. In the meanwhile, I want to thank you everybody for watching, and Go ahead.
One last thing. I mean, you can always reach me at Andrius@heavyfinance.eu. So if you have any suggestions or remarks, or just want to share the investment experience with us, so email me at Andrius@heavyfinance.eu, and I will get back to you.